just make sure that you click on Vet Your Community Partnerships after you have logged in, or else you'll be on the old Facebook page. You did it?
All right, hello everyone. We're just gonna take a moment to make sure we get enough people to join. Thank you all for joining. Welcome.
Hey friends, we're just gonna take a couple moments, give everybody some time to join in, and we'll get started. You get to see our wonderful faces.
Hello everyone.
Hey friends, thanks for joining us today.
Welcome.
We're gonna get started in maybe like a couple seconds just to give everybody some time to join in. Thank you so much for being here today. And sorry about the delay. We had some technical difficulties, as with anything, right? So thank you. A couple more seconds, just because we started a little bit later.
Yeah, so thank you all for joining.
Yes, thank you all for still joining, even after we started late. Ready?
Yep.
Cool. All right, good afternoon, friends. Welcome to our 5th and final Just Say Yes Facebook Live session. My name is Tamyah.
Hey everyone, my name is Shannon.
And we are part of Vet Your Community Partnerships E360 program, which is dedicated to teaching nutrition education to students and parents in the Philadelphia area. Today we'll be in conjunction with SNAP Ed's Just Say Yes program, which is devoted to teaching the importance of incorporating fruits and vegetables into your diet. So today specifically we'll be talking about the benefits of beans and even making a delicious spinach and beans dish. So now I'm going to turn it over to Shannon, who's going to be introducing our icebreaker for today.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you, Tamyah, for that fabulous introduction. So today we do have our 2 icebreaker questions in the caption of this live. So those 2 questions are, can you think of any benefits of eating beans, number 1? And number 2, what are your favorite kinds of beans to eat? So you can go ahead and comment in the comment section to reply to either one or both of those questions. And there is a little bit of a lag with the live, so I'm going to go ahead and have Tamyah go over our objectives while those responses are coming in. So I know the objectives are a little small up here, but Tamyah is going to go ahead and read them off. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we get any replies to that.
Cool. So while you guys are answering our 2 icebreaker questions, I want to go over our objectives for today, right? So, first one, we're going to list at least 2 benefits of including beans in our diet. Second one is we're going to describe new ways to use beans in family meals. Third one is we're going to describe proper cooking methods for dried beans. And then last but not least, we're going to identify overall health and wellness strategies to include intentions to eat healthy and increase physical activity. All right.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Tamyah. We do. So it looks like we have a few answers. Nafi says there's lots of fiber and protein, which is great. And then Taylor says great source of protein. My favorite beans are black beans. Lima beans is another response. We have fiber, iron, protein, another fiber response. Love beans, they're delicious. Cannellini. It's a great substitute for meat sometimes, which is a great point. Mung beans, looks like we have a ton of answers. Garbanzo, also it's fun to say, which is super true. Thank you, Maddie. All right, yeah, thanks for all those responses.
Awesome. Thank you. Shout out to my mom. She's watching currently, and she makes the best lima beans you will ever have in your life. So shout out to you, Mom.
Yum.
All right, yeah, those are all great. Thank you so much for answering our questions, right? So beans taste great. That's like the first great benefit of beans, right? There's so many different varieties also. You have red beans, you have white beans, you have black beans, you have dried beans, you have canned beans, right? There are no limits. And then another huge benefit is that they're inexpensive, right? So here I have a can of black beans, and they typically at the store range between 69 cents and 99 cents a can, so that's super cheap. You can buy it in bulk. And then here I have a bag of dried beans, and these bags typically range from about $1 to $2 a bag. Another huge benefit to beans is they're a great source of protein, so similar to eggs and nuts, right? And then also they're fat-free and high in vitamins, minerals, and fiber. So fiber is that thing that helps us digest food, right? And beans also have significant health benefits, right? So they include helping lower cholesterol, helping control blood sugar, helping reduce the risk of cancer, and helping maintain a healthy body weight. So now I'm going to pass it back over to Shannon, who's going to introduce our first activity.
All right, hello again, everyone. Thank you, Tamyah. That was awesome. Get a little content for what we're doing today. So for our first activity, we want to talk about 3 different kinds of beans. So I have garbanzo beans or chickpeas up here, which was mentioned during the icebreaker. We've got red kidney beans, and we've got black beans that were also mentioned. So for this activity, I just want to hear from you all some of your favorite recipes to use any of these kinds of beans. So if you can think of any particular recipes that you really like for either chickpeas, kidney beans, or black beans, definitely let me know right now, and Tamyah will start to read out some of those responses. But first, I want to give you an example of one of my favorite recipes. For red kidney beans, I love to make a nice chili.
Ooh, chili's good.
So I'm going to go ahead and put chili up there. I love making chili with red kidney beans and other beans too, but the red kidney is a great base for it. And then I'll add some other vegetables and some protein in there as well.
Nice.
Do you have any other suggestions for what to do with these kind of beans?
We absolutely do, Shannon.
Sure.
So we have nafi with hummus.
Hummus for our garbanzo beans.
Maddie says hearty veggie chili. Ooh, that's a good one.
Nice.
Jay says also hummus.
Perfect.
My cousin Renee actually says kidney beans chili. That sounds really
Nice.
good.
A second star for chili.
Ooh. Celia says kidney and black beans in my veggie chili. That's good.
Nice.
Ooh, a
Awesome.
white bean dip. That's really good.
White bean dip.
That's awesome.
Maybe with dip.
Ooh, we got black bean tacos.
Tacos. That's a great one. That's what I was thinking of too.
We have a black bean and corn salsa.
Yum.
Awesome. That's all we got, friend.
Sweet. These are great responses. I also love to do black bean burgers. Black bean soup is a great option. Sometimes making a cold salad with garbanzo beans is great. So we just really wanted to point out that there's a lot of versatility with beans, and you can use them for all sorts of different recipes. And since they have so much protein, it really is a great option to use as a substitute for meat in certain dishes. So thank you all so much for your responses. I'm going to pass on over to Tamyah, who's going to talk about our second activity.
Yeah, so our second activity is just me talking the whole time, basically. But it's just different ways to prepare dried beans, right? So I'm going to bring our bag of dried beans back out. So for one, dried beans, like I said, they're really cheap. They range from like $1 to $2 a bag. And also, it can be prepared to make about, so this bag specifically can be prepared to make about 5 to 6 cups of cooked beans. So that's really, really good, right? And they're nutritious and they're also delicious, right? So, cooking dried beans. Before you even get to the cooking aspect of things, you want to do a couple of steps beforehand. So, first step, you want to make sure you sort through your beans, right? So you want to make sure you're sorting through any tiny pebbles or any shriveled beans, right? You don't want those in there. And then the next step would be to soak them, right? So there are a couple of ways you can do that. So you can start with the quick soak, right? So for the quick soak, for each 2 cups of beans, you want to use about 10 cups of boiling water. So you want to add those beans to the boiling water, bring it to a boil, and then you're going to remove it from the heat, cover, and set aside for about 2 hours. So that's your quick soak. And then, or you could do an overnight soak, right? So that's one of my favorite things to do with dried beans. So what you would do is you would put some beans in some cool water, let that soak overnight or for about 8 hours, right? And then, so that's your soaking part. So now for the cooking part, so after the beans have soaked, you want to drain the soaking water and rinse with fresh water, right? And then you want to cover the beans with fresh water and simmer for about 1 to 2 hours until they're tender. And the beans should always be covered, like submerged in water, right? And then to note, you want to only add salt and acidic foods like tomatoes, lemon juice, wine, or vinegar at the end of cooking the beans. The reason why is the salt will toughen the bean skins and the acids can keep the beans from even getting tender, right? And also, fun fact, things like black-eyed peas, split peas, and even lentils do not actually have to be soaked before you cook them. So that's pretty cool. So then after you cook your beans, you got to store them, right? So to store dried beans and to store cooked beans are two totally different things, so I'll go through both. So to store your dried beans, you want to place in a cool, dry place because the beans may spoil if they get wet. And then dried beans can be kept in an airtight container for about a year, so that's really, really good. And then to store your cooked beans, you want to cook the beans and then store it in the refrigerator for about 4 to 5 days. Or you can store it in the freezer for about 6 months. And you want to make sure before you freeze them that you cover the cooked beans with water to prevent freezer burn. Cool. So I just went through all those great benefits and then ways to store them, ways to cook them. But there's some drawbacks also, right? So what if I don't have time to soak my beans? So one of the things that I would do is I would soak my beans before I go to work. And then, so my work day is about 8 hours. And then when I come back, they'll be ready for me to cook, right? So just think of different ways that you can incorporate dried beans into your diet because they're really, really good and they're really, really nutritious and they're cheap. All right? So now I'm going to pass it back over to Shannon, who is going to introduce our recipe for today.
Awesome. Thank you, Tamyah. Such useful information. So while I get these gloves on, I do want to talk about the different ingredients we will be using for this recipe. So it is a spinach and bean recipe, which is actually in the caption of this video. There is a link to the recipe right there. So for this recipe, it calls for spinach and Great Northern beans. But we actually had a lot of cannellini beans, so today we're using cannellini beans in this recipe. And we also went to the store to get spinach, but they only had baby kale, so we figured we'd try to use baby kale instead. It'll be pretty similar. The only difference really is that the kale will be a little bit more bitter. So today for the rest of our ingredients, we also have some onion and garlic for some flavor. We'll be using olive oil to cook it, and then just a little bit of vinegar, as well as some salt and pepper to give it a little flavor. So it's a super simple recipe. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of ingredients, but it still has a lot of great health benefits and will fill you up with all the protein from the beans. So I'm going to go ahead and start to cut up our onion first, because that's the first item that we are going to put in our hot plate. So when I am cutting up the onion, I just want to mention that we want to make sure to put our hands in the bear claw position so that you don't nick your fingers at all when cutting. So I'm just going to do like a small dice for this onion. And if Tamyah would turn on our hot plate for us,
so
thank you.
I have our skillet here. I'm going to turn that on while she is cooking our onion. About mid-high heat. That should be good.
Yeah,
then I'm going to pour a little bit of olive oil into our skillet just to get that hot. Spread it around. And then so we have all of our amazing ingredients here, but you can absolutely substitute that for anything. So like any of the beans that we were talking about, any of the different greens that you like, it can be kale, it can be spinach, it can be arugula. The sky's the limit. You don't have to limit yourself to just these ingredients. I personally would even substitute this white bean for maybe a black bean or a pinto bean. I'm not a huge fan of white beans unless they're in like a chili or a soup or something. So I'll probably do like pinto or black bean. But like I said, you can completely substitute it for anything.
Yeah, and so for this onion, I'm just getting a nice small dice. But you can do about whatever size you think would be nice in this dish. I love onion, so I love to do kind of a big chunk, lots of it. So we're going to go ahead and add the onion until it's translucent. This should only take a minute or two.
And translucent just meaning like see-through or clear. You don't want to get to a point where it gets brown because then it'll start burning. And yeah, go with that.
Yeah, so next I'm going to go ahead and mince up our garlic. So now that we have the onion in there, the garlic will be added next. So what I'm doing with the garlic is just cutting it into really small pieces, like this. And then once it's in little slices, I like to use a rocking motion back and forth. See that a little better? With my non-dominant hand on top of the knife. And then just kind of rocking the knife back and forth to get it a really small minced.
We call that a rock and chop.
Rock and chop. So our onion is smelling really good.
Smelling so good.
Once this garlic is just a little smaller, I'm going to add it with the onion.
By a show of chat, who loves onion and garlic? Like the dynamic duo.
I love garlic so much. I put garlic in almost everything.
Same. I think I put too much garlic in everything.
Garlic for the win. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start to mix this up a little bit. It's looking pretty good, starting to look a little translucent. You all can see it a little bit.
Looking good. Smelling even better.
I wish you all could smell it with us. So the next ingredient we're gonna add is the white beans. So this is 3.5 cups. I'm gonna go ahead and add all of it. And then
Yes, Emily, 6 cloves.
Sorry.
Sorry. Emily said calls for 1 clove. I put 6. Same.
Yeah, I agree. This one calls for 2 cloves, so if you tried it at home, you could definitely do more than that. If I was doing it at home, I probably would do 3 or 4 cloves.
Yes, for sure.
So the beans don't really need to cook. They're just trying to get warm in the dish, so we don't need to leave this for too long. And then the next ingredient that we will add is our greens. So like we said earlier, the recipe does call for spinach. But Trader Joe's only had baby kale, but I'm kind of excited about that because I love baby kale. Even using like full leaf kale would be great, and like Tamyah was saying, you could do really any green, anything in the cabbage family would be great. Maybe collard greens, things like that.
Yes.
And in this bag, there's about 4 cups of kale. The recipe does call for 6, so I'm just going to go ahead and add the whole bag. Ideally, there would be a little bit more because it does cook down a lot. But this is also kind of a small skillet.
Yes.
I think we'll be good with just the 4 cups.
Absolutely. And for demonstration and time purposes, we did not get to wash our kale. But absolutely, please wash your kale before use or your spinach before use.
Yeah, when you first add greens to any skillet, it will tend to seem like a lot, but it really cooks down so much. So just give it a little time, and then you can add a little more as you're going.
Yeah. And then while our dish is cooking, can anybody think of any substitutions that they will make to this dish? So instead of kale or spinach, any other green, or instead of white beans, any other bean. Or you might take out the onion or add more garlic, add less garlic. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I love this question. I love to hear what other people like, what your favorite kinds of beans are. And while you're answering that, I am going to add a little bit of vinegar. It does call for 1 tablespoon. So I'm just going to guess about 1 tablespoon. There we go. And so that'll just help add a little acidity to this, which I think tastes really nice. Do you have any suggestions for substitutions?
Not quite. Oh, add hot peppers. Ooh, that's awesome. I would add some acid, maybe lemon juice or red wine vinegar. You're right up our alley, Maddie. We added some vinegar.
Love it.
I would add sweet potatoes and coconut milk. Ooh, artichokes. Ooh, that sounds good. Hot sauce. Hot sauce.
So as you can kind of see, the kale is getting a little bit more wilted. It's cooking down a bit.
White beans and broccoli rabe with some spicy peppers. Whoa there.
Who was that? Kelsey? I know
Sam.
she was
No, that's Sam.
Nice.
Surprisingly. That sounds really good.
So I'm going to put the lid on just for a minute to help it cook down a bit.
Oh, sliced leeks with the onions and garlic. What?
I love that.
You guys should have came in here and cooked for us.
Perfect. So this is just finishing up. I would put it in a bowl probably and eat just a nice little serving. It's great for lunches or dinners. It would also make great leftovers, so you can keep it in your fridge for a couple of days and cook it again.
Yeah. And also, again, like we made this really simple spinach and bean dish, but you can do so much with beans, right? So like we did with activity 1, you can make a hummus, you can make a dip, you can make a lunchtime wrap, you can make a burrito. Again, the opportunity is endless when it comes to beans, especially because there's so many different kinds of beans. And you have canned beans, you have dried beans. Beans.
So many options. Yeah, we really just wanted to touch on the versatility of beans. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper here as well. The recipe doesn't call for any other spices, but personally I would probably add some like chili flakes.
Oh, that'd be good.
Maybe a little cumin.
Oh, somebody said maybe stew some cherry tomatoes in there for sweetness and mild acid. Add little chicken stock. That sounds really good.
Yeah, chicken stock would be great.
Bean is life, says Jay. Bean Dream, says Maddie.
All right, perfect. So, as you can see,
It looks
kale
beautiful.
has cooked down a lot. I have a big old hot plate here of greens and beans.
Yes.
Couldn't be any better, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now that it looks nice and cooked. And I'm going to let Tamyah wrap it up for us, but thank you all so much for joining. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, so this is our bean dish. We worked so hard on it, as you can see. Before I give my little concluding spiel, I wanted to note that our beans basic handout, as well as the recipe for this dish, will be in our newsletter, our weekly dish that we're so very proud of, as well as in our in the information box at the end of this session. And the beans basics handout has all the tips that I was talking about in regards to our dried beans, so how to store them, how to sort them, how to soak them, etc., etc. And obviously you'll get our recipe. But nutrition and physical activity are key factors to living a long and healthy life. Making healthy recipes can be easy and inexpensive, as you can see here with our spinach and bean dish. And including physical activity into your life can be just as simple. So we want to make sure that even though we're eating our healthy foods and living our healthy lifestyle, we incorporate physical activity as well. But otherwise, that's all we have. We hope you had as much fun as we did, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you all so much.